McLaren. They're one of the greatest names in motorsports history, and over the years they've racked up countless wins, becoming the only team to claim the Triple Crown of motorsport. But when you think of successful former McLaren drivers, you're probably thinking of the legends like Senna, Hamilton, and Prost. But what if I told you there was another former McLaren driver who did something incredible, yet barely anyone remembers his name? In 1971 at the Italian Grand Prix, this driver broke the record for the fastest Formula One race in history at that time, a record that stood for 32 years. And his name was Peter Gethin. But this was a different time to today. This was the 1970s, a time in Formula One's history that was a dangerous era, where the thrill of speed came hand in hand with real risks. The 1971 season unfolded in the shadow of a brutal tragedy. Just a year after Jochen Rindt was posthumously crowned champion following his fatal crash in the practice for the Italian Grand Prix. Drivers faced not only their rivals, but also a genuine threat to their lives every time they got into their car. As the season kicked off, we had both the Ferrari and the Tyrrell being seen as the cars to beat, with Tyrrell's new 003 and Ferrari's 312B2 both emerging as strong contenders. McLaren and BRM, meanwhile, were not in the spotlight. Their cars, while solid, weren't really challenging for any wins, especially at a circuit like Monza, where outright speed was everything. Yet, as F1 often reminds us, unpredictability is what makes it so special, and Peter Gethin was a special driver. A driver whose path to Formula One was a little different from what we see today. Born in Surrey, England, Gethin didn't grow up in karting before he could walk. Instead, after leaving school, he worked in a local garage, only getting his start into racing in his early 20s, starting out with a humble Lotus 7. But that late start didn't stop him from quickly rising through the ranks. By the 1960s, Gethin was one of the most promising drivers in Formula 3. In 1969, he took a leap into the newly formed British Formula 5000 Championship, driving a McLaren M10A for Church Farm Racing. Formula 5000 was a bit of a wildcard series. It was designed for open-wheel cars that didn't quite fit into other formula, with its name derived from the maximum 5-litre engine limit. Gethin thrived in that unpredictable format. He took 4 victories that season and he clinched the championship. It was the perfect launch pad for his future in Formula One. Tragically though, Gethin's opportunity in Formula One came under heartbreaking circumstances.
Bruce McLaren.
He knew how to take the most everything out of the car.
Bruce just wanted to win at anything. Bruce was a winner.
Bruce McLaren, the founder of the McLaren Formula One team and a legend in motorsport, was killed in a testing accident in Goodwood in 1970. McLaren had built the team from the ground up, and his death left not only a void in his team, but in the entire motorsport world. Stepping into F1 is challenging enough, but Gethin found himself taking the seat of a driver who wasn't just a team leader, but a visionary and a legend. It was a heavy responsibility, yet McLaren still saw promise in Gethin. Despite the emotional weight of stepping into Bruce's shoes, Gethin was determined to prove he belonged in the sport, not as a replacement, but as a driver with his own story to write. For Gethin, 1970 was a tough debut season in Formula One. Stepping into the McLaren team after Bruce's death, he faced a challenging car and fierce competition from his teammates, including Denny Hulme and Andrea de Adamich. Gethin's season was marked by flashes of promise, but consistency was hard to come by. He scored his first and only point that season at the Canadian Grand Prix, finishing in 6th, but he otherwise struggled to keep pace with his more experienced teammates. By the end of the year though, Gethin had earned just a single point in the season, placing him 23rd in the championship standings. Gethin did manage to stay with McLaren though for the 1971 season, partnering again with Denny Hulme in a team that was now reduced to 2 cars. The year didn't start smoothly again. His first race at Kyalami ended after just 7 laps due to a fuel leak, while Hulme was out there fighting for victory. The struggles then continued at the Spanish Grand Prix, where Gethin qualified a respectable 7th, but he was outpaced in the race, finishing 8th. And moving on to Monaco, it proved to be another tough outing, as Gethin crashed out on lap 23 after a lackluster qualifying performance. It was a season where consistency and competitiveness were hard to come by for Gethin. However, just weeks before the 1971 Italian Grand Prix, Gethin made the mid-season switch to BRM after his relationship with the McLaren team principal broke down. This change brought new opportunities for Gethin. His luck was about to change at Monza with the 1971 Italian Grand Prix. So it was a vibrant day at Monza. Jackie Stewart, with his dominant Tyrrell, had already sealed the championship, but he was now struggling against the powerful V12 engines. On pole, Chris Amon in his Matra V12, lined up ahead of both Ferraris and Stewart's Tyrrell. The Italian crowd was incredible. There were cheers and shouts for Ferrari, but further back in 11th was Peter Gethin in his BRM, largely unnoticed by the roaring Tifosi. As all the drivers waited for the lights to go out, the energy was intense. This was Monza after all, the track where Jochen Rindt tragically lost his life the year prior, the fastest and one of the most dangerous circuits on the calendar. The Italian Temple of Speed was about to witness a historic battle. The lights went out, and as the laps ticked down, Monza took its usual toll. Stewart's engine blew, Siffert got stuck in 4th gear, and to the dismay of the Tifosi, both Ferraris retired in quick succession with similar engine trouble. This left a tight group of Peterson, Stewart, Hailwood, Ganley, and Gethin, all battling for the lead. In the final laps, Hailwood briefly took the lead from Peterson, with Gethin soon following. But as that final lap began, Gethin found himself down in 4th. However, his BRM was set up with gearing that gave him a perfect exit out of Parabolica, the famous final corner at Monza. And heading into that last stretch, Gethin surged into the lead ahead of Peterson and Stewart. In an intense final sprint, Peterson closed in using the slipstream, but Gethin just held him off, winning by just 1/100th of a second, 0.01 seconds. Stewart crossed the line in 3rd, just 0.09 seconds behind, with Hailwood another 0.09 seconds behind. Gethin not only won the 1971 Italian Grand Prix, but set a record for both the fastest Formula 1 race in history, a record that would stand for 32 years until the 2003 Italian Grand Prix at Monza. It also remains as one of the closest finishes in Formula 1 history. Gethin, however, never regarded his Monza victory as the best of his career. Instead, he cherished his win through the streets of Pau in the southwest of France, at the wheel of a Formula 2 Chevron the following year. There, he narrowly defeated the local town hero, Patrick Depailler, by less than a second on a circuit that he considered every bit as challenging as Monaco. Over his career, Gethin participated in a total of 31 Formula 1 Grand Prix, with the 1971 Italian Grand Prix remaining his only victory. He also made his mark, however, in several non-championship Formula 1 races. He won the 1971 World Championship Victory Race and the 1973 Race of Champions. To this day, many still consider the 1971 Italian Grand Prix as one of the greatest Formula 1 races in history. There's just something about Monza, the Tifosi, the speed, the heritage, and the echoes of all the drivers past. This race was also the last at Monza before the addition of chicanes, which would forever alter the track's original high-speed nature. In many ways, Monza's final pure race was also its most iconic. Monza saved its best performance for last. If you've enjoyed this video, you'll want to check out my video on Ronnie Peterson, the Super Swede, whose own connection to Monza ended in both triumph and tragedy.